There's one right there. Mr. Whisker Kitty. You can see we're just fishing these with minnow heads. I got that, get that hook out of his mouth. Just a chandelier of minnows. That's what they're eating. You can see that minnow head's even moving. And that's okay. They're eating this, and this is what we're catching. We're catching channel catfish. Anyone that thinks these fish don't feed in the wintertime, they're highly mistaken. They are eating on minnows, they're eating on sunfish, they're eating on perch. They're not just bottom dwellers that eat garbage. This one chased this one down and smacked it. Let's let this one go to fight another day, and we'll talk about how we're catching these fish. Right, Jack? We got plenty in the bucket. Yep. So we'll let this one go. Jack's got dinner for tomorrow. Oh, there's big old Whisker Kitty. But this one's lively, another nice one. Let's let him go to fight another day. There you go, bud. What a hoot there. And we're using, like I showed you right away, spoons, minnow heads, chunks of meat. You want to entice these fish. And I'm using that small pea. I actually modified it a hair. I took that single hook off, because a lot of guys are fishing perch and crappies with that bait. I took the single hook off and I put a size 8 or size 10 treble hook. A couple minnow heads, chandelier, drop that down and entice those fish. And a big tip with these catfish is we're accustomed to feeling fish hit. And a lot of guys have been talking about that. I don't feel them bite. Well, they're not gonna feel that bite. That fish is gonna come up and that meat stick is barely gonna dip. And a lot of times by just raising that rod, you see that fish on there. You're not gonna feel that fish come up and go bump. You're gonna raise that rod and see it on there and set the hook. Using 5 or 6 pound test line, get a good drag system reel because these fish will pull hard. And that's really the setup. You know, so we're chasing these fish. It's a finicky approach. The last several fish we caught, look at that minnow head, still just going crazy in my hand. They stay alive on there quite a while. It blows my mind. These have been on there for probably quite a bit. I mean, they just don't want to be caught. And we're using these to jig them, but also a dead stick. The last 3 or 4 fish we caught, I dead stick this. It's literally sitting motionless. I'm not touching it. It's painful. You see that blip on your Vexlar? You want to grab the rod, you want to jig it, don't jig it. Let it sit there during these off hours. Sun up, sun down, a little more aggressive. That's one approach. Dead sticking or aggressively jigging these spoons packed with minnow heads. And then behind me there, I don't know if you can see, I got my workstation here. I'm cutting up chunks of sucker. This is just a little 1-inch chunk of sucker. This happens to be the head. We use the middle section, we use the tail section, and I got that set up on a dead stick. I got a 2-aught or 3-aught circle hook with a split shot about 10 inches up. I'm fishing that a foot off the bottom. That's a 1-2 punch approach to catch these cats. If they're not taking the jigging rod or a dead stick jigging spoon with crappie or fathead minnow heads, I bet you they take that chunk of sucker. Or try chicken liver. All of this combined, chasing catfish, will put more fish on the ice. And when you focus in where these fish are sitting, you want to fish on areas that fish can maybe roam, where they can cruise. If you're in a river system where there's current, always be careful, but check some of the deeper depressions. We're fishing a lake impoundment right now, and they're up against a break line. We're all fishing in 25 to 30 feet of water, and these fish are suspending. You will mark these fish and get after them. And when the doldrums in the middle of the day, like we're telling everybody, don't hole hop. It's very hard. We preach mobility. Sit where these fish are coming through. Dead stick them, watch the rod tip, and you'll get bit and you'll catch more catfish.